Nikola Tesla, the man who lit the world. Chapter 1, Smiljan, 1856, The Lightning Child. A violent storm rolled over the small village of Smiljan, Croatia, on the night of July 10, 1856. Lightning flashed across the mountains, striking trees and illuminating the stone houses like the pulse of some celestial machine. Inside one of those homes, a boy was born as thunder cracked overhead. The midwife crossed herself and whispered that such a child would belong either to light or to darkness. His mother, Nikola Tesla, answered calmly, to light. Nikola Tesla grew up among the hum of nature. He was drawn to the way streams curved through fields, how water wheels spun endlessly with only gravity's pull. He built small mechanical toys powered by crickets and water flow. His mother, though uneducated, was an inventor in her own right, designing household tools and looms. His father, Milutin Tesla, was a priest and writer who hoped Nikola would follow him into the clergy. But young Tesla's prayers were whispered to the forces of nature, not to saints. By the age of 10, he had begun visualizing machines in complete form, rotating in his mind, functioning perfectly before he ever touched a tool. It was a gift and a curse. The vividness of his imagination often overwhelmed him. He could see waves of energy flowing through space, patterns of motion invisible to others. He believed everything in the universe resonated with frequency, even thought itself. At 17, he nearly died of cholera. He lay feverish for months, his father desperate. Milutin promised him, if you recover, you may go to the best engineering school in the world. That promise gave Nikola strength. He later said it was the first time he willed his body to obey his mind, a concept that would define his life. When he recovered, he devoted himself to study. He read Voltaire, Goethe, and the new writings of Faraday and Maxwell. The invisible world of electromagnetism became his religion. Electricity was not merely a phenomenon to him, it was the bloodstream of the cosmos. He dreamed of harnessing it, not to control nature but to set it free. That stormy birth had been an omen. Lightning had chosen him, and he would spend his life trying to understand its language. Chapter 2, Graz, 1875, The Vision of Alternating Current. At the Austrian Polytechnic Institute in Graz, Tesla was a model of brilliance and obsession. He hardly slept, often studying from 3 a.m. until midnight. He devoured knowledge, mathematics, physics, and especially the emerging science of electricity. When he first saw a demonstration of a Gramme dynamo which could convert mechanical motion into electrical energy, he was fascinated, but dissatisfied. The direct current, DC, motors of the time required a commutator, an intricate, spark-filled mechanism that reversed current direction mechanically. Tesla saw it as crude, wasteful, and noisy. In his mind, he envisioned a system that required no commutator, a motor that could reverse current naturally, in perfect rhythm with alternating polarity. It came to him as a flash of intuition, the rotating magnetic field. This concept, now the cornerstone of AC, alternating current, power, was revolutionary. Two or more out-of-phase alternating currents could create a magnetic field that rotated smoothly, driving a motor without friction or sparking. It was elegance incarnate, simple, efficient, and nearly eternal in motion. But his professors dismissed it as a fantasy. One told him flatly, such a motor would be perpetual motion, and therefore impossible. Tesla's conviction hardened. He left Graz after disagreements with faculty and drifted through Budapest, penniless but inspired. One spring afternoon in 1882, walking with a friend while reciting Goethe's Faust, the full vision struck him like lightning. He grabbed a stick, drew circles in the sand, and explained how the rotating magnetic field could drive machinery. The sun, he said, is a great wheel of alternating current. It turns by the same principle. Soon after, he found work in Paris with the Continental Edison Company, repairing dynamos and improving designs. His supervisors noted his uncanny ability to diagnose machines by ear. He could hear a motor's misalignment as if it were music out of tune. Yet, even while fixing Edison's DC machines, his mind danced with AC waves. Late at night, in his boarding room, he sketched coils and circuits by candlelight. He dreamed not just of electricity for machines, but for cities, homes, and humanity itself. Energy that pulsed through the air, as natural as breathing. Tesla's faith in his vision became his true compass, and it pointed west, across the Atlantic. Chapter 3, New York, 1884, The War of Currents. Tesla arrived in New York with 4 cents, a few letters of recommendation, and boundless confidence. He found his way to Thomas Edison's office, already the emperor of the electric age. The letter he carried from his former employer read, "I know 2 great men, and you are one of them. The other is this young man." Edison hired him immediately. The 2 men were opposites in every way. Edison was a practical experimenter who believed in incremental improvement. Tesla was a visionary mathematician who built perfection in his head. Their partnership quickly soured. When Tesla suggested alternating current as a superior alternative to Edison's direct current, Edison dismissed it. "That's dangerous nonsense," he said. Tesla proposed improvements to Edison's DC generators, promising massive efficiency gains. Edison joked, "I'll give you $50,000 if you can do it." Months later, Tesla delivered results exceeding expectations. When he asked for payment, Edison laughed, "You don't understand our American humor." Tesla resigned the next day. He took manual labor jobs digging ditches to survive, but even there, he worked out equations in the dirt. Eventually, investors helped him establish the Tesla Electric Company in 1887. Within months, he built working prototypes of his AC induction motor and polyphase system, demonstrating how AC could transmit power over long distances without loss. At an 1888 meeting of the American Institute of Electrical Engineers, Tesla unveiled his system publicly. Among the audience was George Westinghouse, who saw in Tesla's vision the future of power. Westinghouse purchased the patents, and together they challenged Edison's empire. What followed was the War of Currents, a brutal corporate and ideological battle. Edison staged public demonstrations electrocuting animals with AC to prove its danger. Tesla, unfazed, conducted his own demonstrations, allowing current to flow through his body to light lamps, showing its safety when properly handled. The turning point came in 1893 at the World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. Tesla and Westinghouse powered the entire fair with AC electricity. As night fell, 100,000 incandescent bulbs illuminated the grounds, the first city of light. The crowd gasped. AC had won. Tesla's dream had become the pulse of modern civilization. Chapter 4, Colorado Springs, 1899, The Lightning Laboratory. By the end of the decade, Tesla's ambitions had expanded beyond power grids. He now sought to transmit energy without wires, through the air and Earth itself. With funding from friends and limited savings, he built a laboratory in Colorado Springs, chosen for its thin air and isolation. There, he conducted some of the most spectacular experiments in history. At the center of the lab stood his towering creation, the Tesla Coil, a resonant transformer that could generate high-voltage, high-frequency alternating currents. The design used mutual induction between two coils, one primary and one secondary, to produce voltages in the millions. The coil's resonance magnified energy like a musical note sustained and amplified in a cathedral. Tesla theorized that the Earth itself could conduct electricity if tuned to the right frequency. He connected his coils to a massive grounding plate and to a copper ball atop a 142-foot mast. When he powered the device, lightning erupted from the sphere, bolts up to 135 feet long, cracking through the mountain air. The roar could be heard 15 miles away. His instruments recorded oscillations traveling through the ground and returning from the opposite side of the globe. "The Earth rings like a bell," he wrote in his notes. He was convinced he had proven resonant transmission, that energy could be sent through the planet's natural conductivity. During one test, he accidentally overloaded the local power company's generator, plunging the entire town into darkness. Rather than apologizing, Tesla remarked, "I was sending messages to Mars." He was only half joking. He did detect repeating radio signals he believed came from beyond Earth, though history would later attribute them to natural cosmic sources. Tesla also experimented with wireless lighting, using tuned receivers to power lamps yards away with no physical connection. The concept, based on electromagnetic induction, is the same principle used in modern wireless chargers and radio. When he left Colorado Springs, he carried notebooks full of data and sketches for something greater, a global wireless transmission system. The next step would require a tower tall enough to speak to the world. Chapter 5, Long Island, 1901, The Tower of Dreams. In 1901, Tesla began construction of Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island. Funded initially by financier J.P. Morgan, the project was intended to be a wireless transatlantic telecommunication hub, but Tesla's true goal was far grander: free energy for all. The 187-foot tower, capped with a 68-foot copper dome, was anchored by a 300-foot shaft driven deep into the earth to form a conductive path. Tesla intended to use the Earth as a giant electrical resonator. His system, based on standing waves, would send energy through the ground and atmosphere simultaneously. He envisioned power stations around the globe that could draw limitless energy from the ionosphere. Each receiver would tune to the Earth's frequency, extracting power wirelessly. "The Earth," he said, "is a conductor of limitless potential." However, Morgan soon learned the truth of Tesla's intent. When he asked how he would charge customers for energy that required no wires, Tesla replied, "There will be no charge. The energy is free." Morgan withdrew his funding immediately. Tesla pushed on, selling personal possessions to continue work. But by 1905, the project stalled. The tower never reached operational testing. Newspapers began portraying Tesla as a madman lost in dreams of cosmic energy. Still, his experiments laid groundwork for radio transmission, which he had already demonstrated years before Guglielmo Marconi's transatlantic signal. Tesla's design, coils, grounding, and tuned resonance, formed the real basis of wireless communication. In 1943, the U.S. Supreme Court officially recognized Tesla's patents as preceding Marconi's. Wardenclyffe became a ghostly monument. Birds nested in its dome. Tesla visited often, walking the overgrown grounds in silence, listening for a hum only he could hear. He called it the voice of the planet. To him, the tower was not failure, it was prophecy. Chapter 6 New York, 1898 to 1915, The Resonant Age. Even as his tower languished, Tesla continued to astound with other inventions. In 1898, at Madison Square Garden, he unveiled a radio-controlled boat, the world's first remote-controlled machine. Using a tuned radio frequency transmitter, Tesla guided the vessel across a pool, steering it with precision. The audience thought it was magic or trickery. "The boat has a mind," one man shouted. Tesla smiled. "Yes," he replied. "It obeys commands through the air." He experimented with mechanical oscillators, small steam-driven pistons that vibrated at precise frequencies. One day, he attached one to a steel beam in his New York lab. Within minutes, the entire building began to shake violently. Alarmed, Tesla smashed the device with a hammer. He later told a reporter, "I could have brought down the bridge across the river." Every structure has its resonant frequency. This principle of mechanical resonance would later underpin earthquake studies, bridge design, and even atomic physics. Tesla saw resonance as the key to all phenomena. "If you wish to understand the universe," he said, "think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." He also delved into X-rays, generating them accidentally while experimenting with high-voltage discharges. Before Wilhelm Röntgen's discovery was announced, Tesla had already taken shadowgraph images showing the internal structure of hands and skulls. His early devices, however, often caused burns. He learned firsthand the dangers of radiation. During the early 1900s, he proposed new turbine designs that used smooth disks instead of blades, relying on the boundary layer effect, the adhesion of fluid to a moving surface, to transfer energy efficiently. The Tesla turbine was decades ahead of its time, later studied by NASA and others. Yet despite his genius, patents and money slipped away. Competitors borrowed, refined, or outright stole his ideas. Investors grew wary. His laboratory burned to the ground in 1895, destroying years of research. Tesla, staring into the ashes, said quietly, "I can rebuild everything, except time." Still, he never stopped. He saw himself not as an inventor of machines, but as a discoverer of nature's secret rhythms. Chapter 7 The Decline of a Genius, 1916 to 1943. The 1910s and 20s were cruel decades for Tesla. His inventions were everywhere, AC power, motors, radios, but his name was fading from credit. The world was turning toward industry and war. Investors wanted weapons, not utopias. Tesla gave interviews claiming to have developed a teleforce weapon, a focused particle beam that could destroy aircraft at a distance. The press sensationalized it as the death ray. He insisted it was defensive, a peace ray that would make war impossible. Governments politely listened, then dismissed him. He took up residence in New York hotels, moving often as unpaid bills mounted. He fed pigeons daily in Bryant Park, spending hours observing their behavior. He once rescued an injured white dove and nursed it back to health. "I loved that pigeon as a man loves a woman," he confessed. "When she died, something went out of my life." Though reclusive, his mind never stilled. He continued refining ideas, wireless power for aircraft, transcontinental communication, and limitless clean energy drawn from cosmic rays. Many were scientifically plausible in principle, though far beyond the materials and technology of his era. On his 75th birthday, 1931, Time magazine featured him on the cover, honoring the man who electrified the modern world. Albert Einstein himself sent him a congratulatory letter. Yet Tesla remained lonely. He had glimpsed the future but was stranded in the past. He lived his final years in room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel, his rent quietly paid by Westinghouse out of gratitude. He survived on a diet of milk, honey, and crackers, surrounded by stacks of notebooks. He was seen less and less. The man who once illuminated cities now lived in the dim glow of memory, dreaming of a world still catching up to him. Chapter 8, New York, 1943, The Raid and the Legacy. On January 7, 1943, Nikola Tesla died alone in his hotel room at the age of 86. A maid found him 2 days later, his hands folded, the faint hum of the city outside his window, the electricity he had given the world. Within hours, agents from the Office of Alien Property entered his room and confiscated his belongings. Though Tesla was a U.S. citizen, wartime paranoia ran high. His trunks, filled with notebooks, blueprints, and devices, were labeled top secret. The government feared his work on directed energy weapons or wireless transmission might fall into foreign hands. The physicist John G. Trump, uncle of future President Donald Trump, was assigned to review Tesla's materials. His report concluded there was nothing of significant technical value. But many of Tesla's papers disappeared afterward, never to resurface. Wardenclyffe Tower, abandoned and rusting, was demolished for scrap during the war. Tesla's dream of free energy had literally been dismantled piece by piece. Yet his ideas refused to die. In the decades following his death, the world slowly recognized the depth of his contributions. The AC systems that power modern civilization, radio, radar, X-ray imaging, fluorescent lighting, all trace back to his discoveries. The unit of magnetic flux density, the Tesla, bears his name. Today, his once ridiculed concepts, wireless energy, renewable power, even global communication, define our age. In every humming transformer, every oscillating circuit, a fragment of his mind still lives. The child born in lightning became the man who taught humanity to harness it. He saw the earth as alive with energy, and in many ways, he was right. Tesla never conquered the world, he illuminated it. And though time and greed dimmed his glory, the current he discovered still flows through every home, every light, every dream. His storm never truly ended, it became civilization's hum. Tesla once said, "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all previous centuries." He believed electricity was more than power, it was a bridge between all living things, the rhythm of existence itself. He died misunderstood, but his vision survived, a world connected by invisible waves, powered by nature, united by light. The end.